Howdy, howdy. It's been a day. I'm so excited that I already have friends in the chat. I'm very excited. I'm already on YouTube. Today was a day. I had another guest for today. If you guys were viewing any of my various social media where I said that I was going to be interviewing somebody about some stuff that they went through, and they just flaked on me about 2 minutes ago and told me that if I start a nonprofit, then maybe they could use it as community service for their probation, which that seems like a long way to go. And you could just tell me what happened to you. But anyway, hi, everybody, and begin. Yes, circle of one. So today I'm like flying solo. I'm usually on my baby sister's channel, The Kate Awakening, but I got booted off. She's really busy. I got to make an appointment. So I'm just on my Life Sleuth Molly channel on Rumble and YouTube. And hopefully, let's see, I can monitor both chats potentially. Yes, I can. But on the Molly Sleuth channel on Rumble, I have the best emojis. In fact, I just got a little ornery after I got flaked on, and I put a bunch of booby emojis, and we have been boobing it up. There's also a lot of shootings. You can be a bird, a frog, a cop, whatever, so you can go and get into a shooting in the live chat. It's kind of weird to like be alone because I'm so used to interviewing people, but I don't know. We'll just see if we can not make it awkward for both of us. Let's talk the best punk albums. Dude, Henry, I know. Why don't you come on? I'm here for the boobs. I know you are, dear. Hit the thumbs up. Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah, that would really help me. Like, I really do like doing these. I like sharing crime tips. I like talking with my dipshit friends and giving you all kinds of nonsense. And so I don't know how long I'll do it. And it kind of is a little bit dependent on if anybody gives a shit, because I could go home and talk to myself and not have to put lipstick on. So that's kind of where we're at. I love the emojis. Thank you. I procure them through theft. And speaking of theft, I was an LAPD officer for a very long time, over a decade, and I was a detective, and I filed thousands of cases, and I have seen many, many thousands of crimes. So through that, plus I lived in the hellhole of Los Angeles for 45 years solid. So part of that is also, I realize I don't really need this. I have nobody to listen to but myself. It's so weird. Anyway, do I go without it? That seems kind of odd. I think I will. Okay. I'm untethered. I can't hear anything. Oh, maybe I'll pull that thing out. No, because if I get a notification. Okay, so I am like just flying blind here. But through seeing so much crime, but not only through the crime, but like also through what gets prosecuted, what gets special attention and extra patrol, as we called it at LAPD. Hopefully some of these tips will be able to help thwart crime at your own house, because criminals, they're very low effort. Let's face it. If they wanted to make money through effort, they would have a job like the rest of us do, but they don't. So they're looking for the easiest target possible. So just like getting your car broken into, you just want your car to look like that much less attractive than the car that you're parked next to. And I have learned over many years and many broken windows what to do or not do there as well. So we could get into it. And Twisted Sister, you didn't know that I was a LAPD cop? Yes, Los Angeles, not Louisiana. I realize there are two LAs. Yes, I was an LAPD cop. In fact, I wasn't going to do this, but I've been moving, and I found my old uniform. I can't get rid of these. Like, it's just mentally I cannot, and I don't want to even start crying, but like I have a lot of my old uniforms. So the double stripes with the diamond under it is detective. This one's like a wash and wear one that you wear like to dirty stuff, transients, but also like if you're serving a warrant or something, like you could wear a more tactical uniform. But my day-to-day like dress uniform shirt would be this one. And it's got a shooting medal on it. I was only a sharpshooter. That's actually a funny story because I did pretty well shooting in the academy. And they were telling all the girls, like, you should go to a 9mm. I'm like, I'm doing okay with the 40, thanks. And so if you're not a gun nut, like, you don't have to tune out. This is a quick one. So so they said, if you go to a 9, you might be more accurate. Like, I'm doing all right. So we go to shoot our qualification to find out, like, what kind of shooting medal that you're going to get. And obviously, like, there's a lot of, like, street cred and, like, you want to get a good medal. And so I got 4 points away from an expert. So I only got this sharpshooter. And I just hear, we still have our earmuffs in and everything, and I just hear the instructor over my shoulder say very softly, like, if you would have gone with the 9, you would have got an expert. Like, anyway, I never got better than that score. It is a perishable skill, but you do have to keep shooting it to be able to wear the medal. And also there's ribbons. This is detective ribbon, and this is a commendation ribbon for having so many commendations in my package. People liked me. I did a good job. It was the best job I ever had. So, but what I thought was really crazy as I was like putting stuff away, I still have my old notebook in there. And although I can't tell you all the license plate numbers that I was looking for way back when. So as you go through, I don't want to do it so you can read it, but I would fold them so that I could get straight to whatever that was, the last day of vehicles that I'm looking for and people that I'm looking for and crime alerts and all kinds of stuff, people that need extra patrol, people that are on vacation. And just going through this, it like brings a lot back. It's really kind of emotional. And like what car I worked with who, and here there was a pursuit with a reckless black truck at the area of Federal and Palms. I worked with Officer Almond. Like, it's just so weird to just like read this and go, oh my God, I remember him. They called him the Almanator because he just loved to pull people over. Like, I couldn't even write the log fast enough because he was just pulling people over so fast. This just has a note that I booked the property from hell, whatever that means. It's been a while, so I don't remember now. How long ago? So I joined in 2005 as a volunteer, and then I was sworn. I went through the 1008 class. It's sort of a long story. I went through the 1008 class. I failed the first test. We all got like thrown into a room together and told that we were going to get fired. And I was like, okay, well, I never thought you were going to hire me, so I'm good. So then I graduated with the 1108 class. So that's November 2008. And then I did over a decade, and then loved it. I worked patrol. I worked undercover for a year. I got a lot of stories. So if you want any kind of good stories, just ask me a topic, and I'm sure I got one. I worked gangs for a year. I didn't really like the people I worked with, but I liked the gangsters. They had a lot more credibility than the officers I work with. And speaking of dick cops, when I left LAPD, I moved to Michigan, and I worked for the second, third biggest agency in the state and hated them. That's when like the record just all the way across. And I got written up 17 times in one shift. So they liked me too. So I left there and I was like, what the hell am I going to do? Like, I bought a house, like I moved here. So then I got a job with the fire department, and it's a lot different than being a cop in so many ways. And maybe we'll do a fire tips show at some point because I think that it's important. But my boss is cool. It's really odd that like I know the chief. Like, I never met the chief at LAPD. Like that guy's like untouchable and on a throne somewhere. So yeah, so I don't know. Like, I feel like you can take the girl out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the girl. So even though I'm living in like this safe, nice Midwest where everything's affordable and the parking spots are like so giant at the grocery store, I still am like always got that like observation skill thing going where I'm like, that's a stolen car. That guy has a warrant. Like, I just like think on a different level. But like even today, I went to the ATM because tomorrow's garage sailing. Duh. So I needed some cash. And there was a car, like I pulled into the bank after hours, and then this truck with two dudes in it pulls behind me. And I don't see the like typical like reaching for his wallet because he's going to use the ATM too. So like I already have my spidey senses going, and I don't know that many people would be looking in their rearview mirror when they're going to the ATM, but I do. I look around everywhere. And so I just felt like it was sort of a shady transaction. And so I truncated my session at the bank and took off. And, I was armed, but like it's easier just to drive away than to shoot two people. So there we go. Ever have to administer Narcan? No. Now, yeah. Fentanyl's crazy. So I haven't had to administer Narcan, but we do, I'm CPR certified now, so we do it for class, but never on somebody. But our firefighters, so I just do fire. And so the guys here that are paramedics and EMTs, we do get a lot, even here in the like silly Midwest, we do get a lot of overdoses. And the one thing that you have to look out with Narcan is that sometimes they're not very happy that you've taken away their high. So step back. For all those ladies that carry one in their purse to be able to help that hobo one day get away as soon as they're not high anymore, you're a problem because they paid good money or committed acts to be able to get high and you just screwed it up. So that's a hot little fentanyl tip for you. And isn't it crazy in LA that we have to spend as victims of crime or as just like people walking around that we have to pay attention to so much stuff and like try to harden the target and make the rabid animals go and bother somebody else. It's really crazy for me because I guess I grew up in a timeline where we were the last generation that kept our doors unlocked. And now if you keep your doors unlocked, like you're crazy. In fact, in LA, I was just reading this story. This lady left her door unlocked and she lived in, not Toluca Lake. Where was she? Like Studio City area. I mean, it's not the worst area of LA, but it's not the best. And any part in LA has a lot of residential burglaries. I worked west of Los Angeles area, which is like Bel Air, Brentwood, Pacific Palisades, some big money. So there's a lot of house break-ins in the nicer areas because they didn't want my tube TV in Koreatown. They want to get somebody's insured jewels and then go back in a couple of months and go get them all again when the insurance pays to replace them. But anyway, this lady left her door unlocked and went to sleep on the couch and awakes to find some dude with his pants off, jerking off in her face in the middle of the night. So the police came and they got him. But here's the thing, in terms of prosecuting, he did not break any door. He didn't break a window. He tried an open door and it opened. It kind of changes the crime. Unfortunately, it's not reasonable at 3 o'clock in the morning for a dude to walk into your living room and jerk off in your face. However, prosecution has a lot of pressure to be kinder, gentler. And also they are so inundated with crime that they really only file like real solid cases. I had a district attorney tell me once, if I can't see 12 jurors with tears in their eyes, I'm not filing it. Like, how does my victim of crime feel? How does this woman feel? I mean, yes, I'm sure she feels awful that she left her door unlocked when she went to sleep. And first of all, even if, like, don't just say, oh, I lock my door after 6 o'clock. I lock my door after 9. Just lock the freaking door all the time. Then that way you don't have to, like, have that, like, did I lock the door? Did I not lock the door? Who's that person outside? A lot of places get broken into during the day. So just lock the door so that you don't have some guy jerking off in your face. So head on a swivel. Yes. Yes. Creepy, super creepy. And so he was arrested, but he was arrested for misdemeanor trespass, which I think in Los Angeles, I mean, it's been a while, but I was there through the Prop 47, Prop 57, and AB 109 passing, which just absolutely amplified crime to no end. But with a misdemeanor, a lot of times if you can identify the guy, you can cite and release him. So then there he is. Like, he knows where you live. Who knows if he saw the layout of your house, if he, looked in your panty drawer, but he's like fixated on you sexually. And now he's been released and it's like 4:00 in the morning. The officer's still writing the report and he's out on the street and he's like, oh, I'm going to go back over to her house. So just lock your doors. But so let's talk about some like burglary tips. I don't know if you want to get a pen, but some of these are going to be juicy. So maybe like make a little mental note of the timestamp when we start really hammering you with some good ideas that might be able to prevent you from getting your house broken into. One thing, I guess we'll start from like the outside of the yard and we'll move in. Dogs. Oh, indecent exposure? No. So indecent exposure, not really. So in fact, in California, if I'm just some like drunk dude and I want to pull down my pants and like piss on a tree, it's not indecent exposure. You can technically walk down the street naked and it is not a crime until I sexualize it, until I say, hey, take a look at it, or I'm like touching it in a sexual way, or I'm trying to get you to notice it in a sexual way. If there isn't a sexual element, if it's simply nudity, because I'm like drunk on a park bench with my ass hanging out, which certainly never happens in Los Angeles, but that's not a crime. I mean, at least it's not indecent exposure. Even if kids are around, even if, there's got to be a sexual element to it to be indecent exposure. How do I get into, let's say, a bank vault? Yeah, let me just tell you the key, the code to the bank vault. It's 666. There you go. Hi, Becky Lou. Welcome. Thank you for stopping by. So I've been kicked off of the Kate Awakening channel. I haven't been kicked off. She's just super busy. So I'm not going to be doing it there anymore. So make sure that you guys subscribe over here, wherever you see me, because this is where I'm going to be from now on. So let's talk about burglaries. So when I think of your yard, dogs are a great deterrent. Even the little tiny yappy ones, because they are alerting people of everything. But you do have to sort of weigh it. The dog that barks all the time, just like those car alarms that go off all the freaking time. And maybe you guys don't live in a big city like I did when I was in LA, but there are people who set off car alarms like it's a mating call. And so you just get used to it and you don't pay attention to it. So if your dog is always barking, not the best deterrent. I think somehow this coffee that I made yesterday is trying to kill me. And I put it in a plastic container with some other chemical coffee that I got earlier. So dogs are great if they're in the yard. If they're super friendly, though, that doesn't always help. So, I mean, of course, there's the story of the poisoned steak going over the fence. Like, these are criminals. They're very low effort. So the fact I've never pulled over burglary suspects or arrested them and found a poisoned steak waiting in the glove compartment. It just doesn't happen. But if your dog's super nice, then they're not really scared. So they don't want to get caught. This is ultimately the whole list is they don't want to get caught. They want an easy entry and an easy escape, and they want to get something of value out of it. That's it. That's like all my tips are going to be to thwart one of those three. So dogs could definitely thwart them. Now, if you have doggy doors, some people have some big doggy doors. Even the little cat doors, you'd be surprised how limber some of these guys are that could get their hand up there and unlock the door from a cat door. So they do make locking animal doors, pet doors, and you should lock them at night. I mean, hopefully your animal is potty trained enough that they don't need to go in the middle of the night. And there's nothing wrong. Of course, some of them like to patrol, but if they want to bark at the window at 3 a.m, then better than to leave it open, because criminals will come in the doggy door. So get one that locks. Sometimes you have a thing that goes in, a sheet that like of plastic or something that goes in. And there's also even like RFID dog collars and cat collars, but as long as it's far enough away from the door, probably don't have to spend the money. But the RFID ones only open that dog door when your dog with that collar is at that door. And that's not just good for burglars, but like raccoons like to come in and like eat the food. So it keeps that closed only for your pet. So that's those do work. 666 got it. Yes. It doesn't seem like enough numbers, but I trust you. Yeah, trust me. What if your kink? Hold on, Grandma needs her glasses for this one. What, Becky Lou? What are you talking about? What if your kink is getting non-sexually while walking around naked? Then is it a crime? I mean, there are people that feel that it is sexual to pop balloons and get a pie in your face and all kinds of stuff. Like the law can't cover all of it. Can you define the difference between burglary and robbery? Yeah, sure. So burglary is the entering of a specified structure with the intent to commit a felony and or theft. So if I break into your house to murder you, that would be a felony crime. But if I come in to steal your Pop-Tarts, like that is still a felony crime. It's 459 of the Penal Code, at least in terms of California. And robbery is a taking of property by force or by fear. And that's 211 Penal Code. And so robbery, your house can't be robbed. People say my house got robbed, but people get robbed. And so robbery could be anything from me putting a weapon in your face and saying, give me your purse, to me shoving you and snatching something from you. And then there's even something called an Estes robbery, which is like aggressive panhandling almost gets there. Like when I went to Chicago the last time, I went to go see Skinny Puppy. What an awesome show. And there were these group of guys that were outside the House of Blues, and they were like, hey, give me some money, like donate $1 to me. Hey, donate $1 to me. And they're like blocking people's path and demanding money. And so you're still kind of giving up that money under like force or by fear. Like, I don't want any problem. He's blocking my path to be able to leave. I just want to go to my car. Like, okay, here's $1. But you're still, they're still taking that property. I mean, in Chicago, is it a crime? No, they don't care about anything. In fact, after that, I don't know that I'll ever go to Chicago again, because the very next night, Skinny Puppy was also playing, and they were also playing at the House of Blues. And I assume those same suspects were on the property of the House of Blues, and they tried to take money from a guy, and he said no, and they killed him right there on the sidewalk. So, not a fan of Chicago. But yeah, so that would be like an Estes robbery, where it's like he didn't really like put a gun to my head, but obviously I feel in fear that if I don't give him this $1, that like something could happen to my well-being. They're both felonies. They can vary, but both of them are covered by the 18622 gang enhancement. So that was my bread and butter when I was a gang cop. And I think they're taking all that away. They don't want to have to like have databases of gang members anymore, and arsonists and child touchers, because that's not fair. Like, well, those people have a proclivity to do it again and again. That's why there's been a database, but okay. Not a big fan of databases. In fact, if you've ever met me on any of the dating apps, sorry, I lied about my name. So I just hate being on databases, but I mean, some of them are good, because if you're committing a crime and not trying to just like date losers on the internet, like you really shouldn't be hidden, in my opinion. Okay, so we got animals. So get a gate. So one of the weird things about being in Michigan is that people don't have like gates between them. Like the house I just bought is like just open, like a wild animal could just traipse through. And it's so strange to me. But gates are really good. Squeaky gates are really good. High gates are really good. Pointy gates are really good, unless you're my friend Elise, who got impaled on a gate once when we went to go apartment hunting. But that's a different story. But gates are only as good as closing the gate. So if you have your gate open or unlocked, again, think of some dude jerking off in your face at 3:00 in the morning. Even like bells on the gate, something loud is good. Those are all deterrents. But if you do have a gate, or if you don't have a gate and you just want to put a little post up, it's always a really good idea to supplement that with a no trespassing sign or a no soliciting sign. Because one of the factors that the cops and the prosecutors have to gauge when they're deciding whether or not this incident rose to the level of criminality is it reasonable? Is it reasonable for that guy to be in your house jerking off? No. Okay, we're going to arrest him. Is it reasonable for the Girl Scouts to have come through your open gate to knock on your door to say, don't you want some Thin Mints? Like, well, the gate was open and they do come door to door and there wasn't a no soliciting sign. But is it reasonable for a guy who has nothing to sell is just like going door to door for no reason? Like, so everything kind of gets weighed against this barometer of the word reasonable. Reasonable is a word that police use like all the time. Reasonable suspicion is a big one. And so what is the objective reasonability of what occurred? Obviously, a dude jerking off in your face. How many times am I going to say that? I guess a lot. So this is what happens when I don't have a guest on my show. Sounds like justification for buying Girl Scout cookies. Listen, Thin Mints out of the freezer, I could snort a whole line of those. This is trouble. So get a no trespass and no soliciting sign, and get several. If you have several gates or abilities to front door and a back door, or you use your side door or a separate garage, like get signs for all of those, because it ups the level of what is considered reasonable for somebody to be in your yard. If they hopped over a fence with a no trespassing sign, it rises to a level of criminality faster and protects you more. So let's talk about lights. There are a lot of motion activated lights. They're great. You want to watch the timing of it. You don't want one that turns off like immediately where they're just playing like freeze dance. But you also don't want one that stays on all night. So your neighbors are like, that light's always on and it doesn't raise the hairs on your neighbor's neck or your neck. Cause you're like, probably just a possum going through the yard. So you want that timing to be to alert you, but not to turn off too quickly. And then I, as a burglary detective, I saw a lot of times that the burglars would break into zones of your house that I call kind of like the nudity factor. Like if you locked yourself out and you were naked, would you feel comfortable standing in that doorway or next to that window totally naked while you're waiting for somebody to come unlock the door or waiting for the locksmith to come let you in? And so burglars don't really want to be seen smashing a window right on the street and crawling into it as traffic goes by. So they'll find the window that is covered by a giant hedge, or in a little alcove. So those are the doors that you're going to need to fortify more, have more security. So trim your bushes, ladies and gentlemen, trim those bushes. And just think about that nudity factor. If you can stand there and pick your nose, then a burglar is going to feel comfortable cutting that screen, jimmying the window, hoisting his friend up, throwing out your pillowcase full of all your shit. So you don't want to have any windows that are totally hidden to the world. So they don't just enter the first floor, though. I've seen a lot of times where, because they learn from getting arrested, and so a lot of times people will only alarm the big slider window and the big windows around it. And they don't alarm kitchen windows or bathroom windows. So some of those smaller windows, they're more apt to hit. And second floor windows. A lot of people forget, or they just don't, the budget doesn't go to the second floor. So if that's true, I mean, we don't all have unlimited funds. God knows I don't. But ladders, chairs, a barbecue, anything that can get brought to that window so that they could go up to that second floor, they will. And you got to think about that also when the summer months come, because we tend to leave, windows open to get some breeze at night. So maybe do it just enough that you can get some air, but put a little like dowel in it. Or there's these like sliding locks that go on the rail of that sliding door or the sliding window. There's a lot of different gadgets. And even just the visual deterrent of seeing one of those, they're like magnet ones. And then when you break the magnetic part, because the door opens or the window opens and they're beep, 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 beep. It's just like, okay, I'll go find another house. And that's really it. Like, you want to find things that make your house look less enticing so that they move on. So window alarm sensors, and that's like if you don't even have an alarm company. Obviously, if you have an alarm company, cool. Very cool. And make sure, like, at least for when they name those windows, you want the police that's responding. The most frustrating thing for 911 dispatch that's talking to the alarm company and then dispatch who's talking to me is like, it's zone 5. What's zone 5? Tell me west window, second floor east window. And that way I can already start to, because the one thing I want to do is catch this guy. And if he hears us lights and sirens, or if I'm coming around the wrong way of the house, like, let me start tactically deploying to this place because I want to catch the guy. And I want to know what window he's going to so I can go straight to that instead of like looking through the whole freaking neighborhood or your whole apartment complex, not knowing. You come to an apartment complex and it's apartment 8 and it's zone 5. Like, I don't know what end of the building you're at. We don't have just like maps on our like car computer that we can look at. So let us know. Have the alarm company put that into the notes of it. And stop with this zone 5 stuff. Really, honestly, there's too many memes about it. And then, okay, so lock all your doors and windows, like all the time, not just at night. Lock them all the time. And that goes for your car too. I know that people would say like, oh, well, if you're in a car accident that's really bad, you want to make sure that your doors are unlocked. If you get in the just lock them. I mean, just lock them. People try door handles. I could go into a bunch of different stories, but better to lock the door, because if you're in a bad enough accident, now that I cut people out of cars for a living, I'm just going to take the window. Don't worry about that. And also wear your seatbelt all the time. All the time. I could tell you a story of last Halloween. This lady got just like bumped. She got like rear-ended. Not even a big deal. She went down into a ditch. She was not wearing a seatbelt and she didn't make it. Wear your seatbelt. Okay. Yes, I did put on my list LAPD masturbate trespasser. I think we're done with that. I think we're going to move on from that guy, but that just happened in LA. Okay, so interior lights. Whether home, not home, it's a good idea to have lights on timers and all kinds of stuff. You can have the TV going. I use talk radio because one, speaking is more, I can't think of the word. It's, well, the show's over. It's more erratic, and it also sounds like somebody could be there. Whereas music is like, oh, is that just a ruse that they're not home? So I do like talk radio to be left on, not so loud that it's obvious that that you're like leaving it for vacation, but enough that if you're standing at the door that you can hear somebody talking. And bells on your door. They're not just for Christmas, people. I'm a big fan of it. I do like bells. I like booby traps too, but I'm not going to get into any because of legal liability. And also, I don't want to tell you what's going on at my house. So, plus, if you trim your bushes, your deck will look bigger. Well, it depends on where your bushes are in relation to your deck. But yes, sir, it's true. I can bask in the sun non-sexually on multiple sides of my house only to be seen by spying satellites. Well, then you want to make sure that you've got good locks on those windows, Becky Lou. Okay, so inside, Close your blinds, your curtains. You don't want people to be able to look in, especially if you're not home. And especially if you don't have any animal, that there's no going to be like a swish of anything, of like movement, of like, is somebody home? I gotta go. So close those blinds and those drapes. And, sorry if you have plants. I have a lot of plants, but you don't want them to be able to look in. Also, don't have any like obvious valuables out. I don't know what you'd have out that would be an obvious valuable. Although I say that, I'm unpacking right now. And I have all these briefcases from when I was a detective, and I bought all these briefcases because I'm like, I'm going to use these at work. And then my files ended up being like this, like, because you have to make so many copies. So I'm like, well, now my briefcase is a cardboard box. This blows. So I got like an eelskin briefcase for nothing. So as I was putting that eelskin briefcase on the floor by the door today, I was like, if somebody looks in, they might think that there's something good in that. Speaking of which, let's talk about safes. So I've had a lot of cases with safes. I had this one case, though, where the guy's like, yeah, they got my safe. And I'm like, oh, that sucks that it wasn't, bolted down or whatever. He's like, no, it's pretty good. Why would that be good that they got your safe? He's like, it was a decoy. It was full of pennies. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of genius. So I do have a decoy safe at my house as well. And I hope they spend all their time trying to rip it out of its beautiful little hole and take it back to their lair, only to open it and find out that they got fuck all. But there's other things that you can use as safes. So I guess we could get into like some of the like hidden stuff, which I love. I love hidden doors. I love hidden compartments. There's a lot of stuff that you can get at spy shops and things like that. But understand that these like criminals, they also look at that and they're like, oh, that's weird. A can of shaving cream next to the bed. Like, certainly that can't be a can that and it's jingling, so you want to be a little bit mindful. But they do make a lot of things that are hidden that look like everyday objects, and a lot of different shelves and things. But here's a little hot one that I could tell you. In all my time of working as a burglary detective and as a patrol officer, taking hundreds of reports for burglary, because when I worked at West LA and Van Nuys, we were number one in burglaries, and it wasn't me. I didn't do it. But I've never seen anybody go into a paint can in the garage. So think like in terms of that. A paint can is a lot of space, and it's relatively a little bit fire retardant. And you could have a paint can that you put a big fat steel washer in and drill that into the foundation, put some paint around it so that if you kicked it, it doesn't move and you're like, oh, it's painted to the ground, put some other paint cans on top of it. And now you have this like great canister that you could put all kinds of stuff in. So I think don't come to my house and look through my paint cans. You're going to find a lot of paint. But I think in terms of like some of the more odd things like DIY hidden compartments are really great because you can't find them at a spy store and the average criminal hasn't even heard of that. So I always told my mom, like, if I ever die, like, don't even throw out a pair of socks before you look at it because I'm a squirrel and there's stuff everywhere. Can't guarantee that it's worth anything, but it's there. Hold on, Becky Lou. I taught a friend a very mean lesson about locking her doors after several suggestions. I hid in the back of her station wagon. Dangerous, but I was in high school, so my brain wasn't fully developed. Dude, if you sat and you tried to play hitchhiker or whatever in my back seat, I'm sorry. I'm a little jumpy still. My locks and windows are not very good, but my Glocks are in working order. That is good. And look at that, with your shark and your police officer shooting each other. Get in there for the emotes. Becky Lou, did you see all the boobs that I have this week? It's totally fantastic. So let's talk about guns. There's the law, and then there's how people actually operate. And so you're going to have to look in your state because each one's different. But in talking about the storage of firearms, obviously safety is a huge issue, especially if you've got kids or mentally ill people living with you or having access to your place. But you also have to balance that with accessibility. So if the shit hit the fan right now, how long would it take you to get that? So you do have to balance it. Again, there are a lot of secret locking things, and they have various different ones that do fingerprints. You want one that's manual. People forget to charge stuff, and batteries run out. So you want something that you can get to, and you, as somebody who learned that you lose your fine motor skills when the shit hits the fan, you want something that's like gross motor skills, because there's no way that you're doing a padlock when the shit hits the fan and there's a guy at your door and you're like, you just no. So gross motor skills, easily accessible, but also safe, but then also know when you can use it. There's a great book. It's a small book, so if you have very little time in this world, you can read it. It's called After You Shoot. And basically, it kind of runs you through a scenario where an intruder comes into your house and you protect yourself by potentially ending theirs. Now, what do you do? What do you say when you call 911? When do you call your attorney? What do you say? And how do you start that whole process? And what do you do with the body? Do you have to give CPR? This kind of stuff. It's a pretty good book. It's called After You Shoot. I think it says like the gun's hot, the perp's not, now what, or something. So, yes, Rose Thistle Art found the boobs. Excellent. Welcome to the boob chat. I'm pretty sure she locks her doors and checks the back seat now. Good. It's terrible that things like that have to happen for you to like change the way that you are. I have a very good friend here in the Midwest who, heart of gold, always trying to help people. But she had given her key to some hobo and she was paying him to do some like light work here and there, just to try to like help him out of the goodness of her heart. And he gave the key to some other a-hole who shit on her carpet and smeared it around and put everything by the back door to steal it. And then the mailman scared them off. They were arrested. The other guy hasn't been yet. But yeah, you got to be really careful who has access to your key or who knows that you hide it under the lawn gnome or whatever. One thing I'll say is, and I don't know if it's just Michigan, but there's a program called Smart 911. They have a website, and it's pretty cool. And not just for police reasons, but also medical reasons. Some of our loved ones that have some medical conditions. And through Smart 911, you can go in and create your profile, and you can put whatever kind of information that you want police and fire and rescue to be able to know. Like, hey, and just in case, my mom's on oxygen, or my dad is blind, or I hide a key under the lawn gnome. All of that good stuff. I have a goldfish. Please save it. But so you get into your smart911.com and you create your profile, and then it's all this information, whatever that you want to give. Barbara across the street has my key. And so it really helps us help you. Although there are certain conditions where I'm not knocking on Barbara's door. This is imminent and I'm going in. But it could save you. It could save your life if you fall and you're yelling and people go, "Oh, we've got to get into Molly's house." Like Active 911 or Smart 911. Sorry, Smart 911 is going to be able to say, "There's a key under the lawn gnome," and so that's a good one. Okay, going back, let's talk about cameras. Because as a detective, I was always trying to pull footage from people's cameras. And just like we learned from Epstein, a lot of times they're not recording. Nobody's watching them. And this happens all the time. We could get into an whole Epstein thing because I have a pretty spicy take that I kind of side with Dan Bongino. But because of the nature of child predators and how they are not your typical emotional offender. They want to write their own story. So spicy take, I kind of do think that he did it. But there's just some extenuating circumstances. Do we get into this? I think he was sharing a cell with a dirty cop. I was a clean cop, but I could tell you that cops have this really strong sense of right and wrong, and especially when it comes to victimizing children. And if I allegedly was in a cell with somebody who did that, and they were starting to talk some nonsense about wanting to do something to themselves, I don't know that I'd encourage it, but I certainly might not discourage it. And if I heard sounds that sounded like that, I might just roll over and take a nap. I knew that there was an incident with his cellmate just days prior. Yeah, so yeah. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. I think we were talking about cameras. So cameras go down all the time, even when it's important, even when it's rich people, even when it's a prison and you're paying a lot of money and somebody's in segregated housing and all this stuff. So make sure that your cameras work. And if you have those ones, I don't know if it's like the Arlo that you have to charge, like those are kind of bullshit. Like the hardwired stuff is good. If your electricity goes down, that could be a problem. But it's better than like, oh, I didn't charge it, and so now I don't have the video of the guy coming in. But beyond that, know how to get your footage. When Ring first started, I had Ring, and I really liked it because I could just send you the clip. I could send the clip to my friends. I could, post it on the internet. I could send the detective the clip, and they can make as many copies as they want and share it and whatever. And so I really liked that format. So much better than having like an actual physical DVR, which gets stolen when the suspect comes in to your place of business or your house and finds that DVR. They're going to take it. And then there goes your information. So the cloud stuff is kind of better. I know, again, we're talking Big Brother and who else has access to that cloud. I get it. But you're not Scarlett Johansson. So you're just going to have to weigh the balance. But what if that cop also victimized children or was bribed by somebody who does? Well, so I think the officer was in prison for killing 4 people. They were adults. I don't really know the whole scenario offhand, but I know that they had killed 4 people. So not good, but they get segregated in jail because of the nature of it's obviously a danger for a cop to be in prison. People don't like us very much. And there was an incident. Yeah. So with the cameras, especially in like cities, clean the lens. Take a little cotton ball with some alcohol on it every once in a while and clean the lens. Like, I can't tell you how many like grainy crime alerts I've put out where you're just like, I don't know, it could have been a person, it could have been a zombie, it could have been an elephant. It's just like an outline of grainy nonsense. And a lot of that is, well, nowadays the technology has gotten a lot better, the images are sharper, but no technology can see through Los Angeles smog. So clean your little, clean the cameras. And check them out every once in a while. Make sure that they're at a good angle. You prefer to have, like, there's facial recognition software. It's not the greatest, but it's better than nothing. And if I could get a head-on picture of that person that is breaking into your house, I mean, that is so solid. Instead of like the rooftop version of the top of their head, like that's not really helping me. Like everybody has a black t-shirt and jeans. Like that's not like, be on the lookout. Like, oh, there he is. And there he is. And there he is. So the more recognizable, the better. Typically, are they going to spray paint it or remove it from the wall? Sometimes that does happen, but especially if you have like a cloud that's keeping your footage, then I saw you walk up to it and spray paint it. So it's not hard to prosecute for the break-in as well. So it's better to have it at that good angle. But also you want to be careful of like where it is lighting wise. A lot of people, like especially if you have that Ring system where your phone is going off all the time and you're like, ugh, it's nighttime, my thing's going off. There must be a freaking moth out there. And you're getting these like bright moths that go into the light and set it off. So the phrenological view. I actually have a phrenology skull. I think they're kind of fun, but I love antiquated idiocy. So if you have, what was I even saying? Cameras. So you want it to be clean. You want them to be recognizable. Oh, lighting. You don't want a shadowy figure with a bright moth. So figure out that sweet spot to put it maybe away from light, or maybe the light shines and doesn't go off with the typical moth. And that was one thing that was really cool about the Ring system too, is that you can set how sensitive it is. And so that it doesn't go off for a little moth now and again. And if the light goes on or off, I really did like those Ring floodlights. This show is not brought to you by Ring.com, because I am not sponsored by anyone, but I will be. Taco Bell, I'm right here. I love you. Okay, so, and then not fisheye cameras. Although it's great to get this like huge perspective of your entire yard, it's not very helpful when it comes to prosecution, because it gets so distorted that it's hard to make an identification and to say definitively that this creepy little outline is 6'2" or 5'7" or whatever. So the fisheye ones get a little bit tricky, but I don't know that anything really has the fisheye now. And then know how to, yeah. Oh, you also, with the Ring, you can upload it to like Nextdoor app. I'm not going to like say I like Nextdoor because I was kicked off for not using my legal name. Like, you don't need to know my name. Like, I live in the neighborhood. You don't need to have a stool sample and my social security number Nextdoor. But it was cool to be able to share, like, hey, did anybody see this car or whatever? I guess there's a lot of people on Facebook that do that kind of stuff too. I see it for my neighborhood all the time, where people will say, oh, these kids were like knocking on my door. Were they knocking on anybody else's? Like, oh yeah. So I guess we could talk about knock burglaries. It's huge in Los Angeles. And what they'll do is like one of them will knock on your door while the other one or ones are going around to your back door. And if you don't answer the door, they just assume that nobody's home. So one of the ways to thwart that is to, like what I'll do is I'll yell through the door, Steve, get the door. I'm not getting the door. You get the door. Fine. And like I'm having a big fight. And if it's somebody selling cookies, they're going to be like, oh, this doesn't sound like a good time. And they'll go away. And if it's a suspect of a crime that's plotting on crime at your house, they're going to be like, whew, she sounds crazy and pissed. And I don't know who Steve is, but I don't want anything to do with this. And they'll leave as well. So you want them to know that you're home if you are home. If you're speaking to them through the Ring doorbell, don't tell people if you're home or not home. If you say I'm not home into the Ring system, they're like, oh, really? You know, and you don't want that. So better to answer than not answer, but don't be opening the door. Don't open the door to people that you don't know. And there's all kinds of videos, but maybe it's just because I'm obsessed with crime reporting and I watch too many police posts. But there are pregnant women that will stand at your door pretending to be in labor. There are little kids that'll knock on your door, and then the homeboys come rushing in once the door is open. There are ways to open the door a crack, but even that is not as safe as just not opening the door. What do you need? Like, oh, I just broke down over there. Can I use your phone? No problem. I've called the police for you. They're on the way. And then find out how quickly they run. One thing I did want to show you, when I lived in Koreatown, which is a total hellhole, I had these, not to scale, I had these on my door, and it's really cool. There's like this ball here, and it's better than that chain that you have at like the motel. They're far sturdier. And what I would say is when you're going to put one of these up, you don't want it at the strongest part of your door. Well, let me take it back. You don't want it at the strongest point of the human that's on the other side of your door, because they're infallible. I mean, they're not infallible. You want to put the thickest screws through it possible. That makes it better. But also, if you put it at shoulder height, which is right where I'm going to shove my shoulder, or foot height, which is where I'm going to try to kick the door, then it's maybe not going to do its job as better as if you put it high up or low down. Obviously, you want everybody to be able to get out. If you have, little kids, whatever, you don't want it out of their reach. Everybody needs to be able to get out of the house when they need to get out. They're not perfect. You can't lock this thing when you're on the other side of the door. So this is only for when you are home. But these are pretty good. And they're very sturdy and a lot better than the chain, because the chain has a lot of mobility to it. And where there is mobility, I don't know if you've ever learned jujitsu, but like the less space, the better. The more space, the more that can happen. So I really like those bar locks, whatever you call them. Okay. Be nosy. That is one of my, be nosy. So that's knowing your neighbor's schedule and like what cars come in and out and who their visitors typically are and what lights are usually on. And don't be, worried if they're nosy in return, which isn't to say tell everybody your business. Like, oh, if my light is ever on after dark, like it's not me because I'm never home before I'd work the late shift. Like, don't be telling people your business. Don't be telling people that you're on vacation, and all that stuff. But just to be a little nosy. One, it helps you because you get to see things that may or may not be suspicious. It also helps you articulate when you call 911. 911 is great. It's free. Your taxes are already paying for it. So call 911 and go, there's a weird car that's been outside my neighbor's house. I've never seen it there before. And I know that she's typically at work during the day. Could somebody just come check it out? Or 3 guys just went to the door and 1 is knocking and 2 went around the back. Can you maybe step it up? So you want to kind of be that busybody that's peeking through the mini blinds and watching what's going on. But also there's crime mapping. And maybe I'm just too obsessed with crime statistics, but I want to know what the crime trends are in my neighborhood. Like, what kind of cars are they usually using? What do the suspects do? What's going on in the neighborhood, so that you can be a little bit more suspicious when 2 dudes pull up behind you at the ATM and nobody's reaching for a wallet. So I don't know. I feel bad for those guys if they were just I'm not going to reach. That girl looks dangerous. I'm not reaching for my wallet until she's gone. Maybe they thought I was suspicious. Who knows? Probably not, though. So crime mapping is good, and there's all kinds of different ones. In fact, so California calls it Megan's Law. Michigan calls it something else. But you can also look in your neighborhood and find the registered sex offenders for your neighborhood. And I find that to be quite helpful. Actually, I don't know if you guys have been following me for very long. And if you're liking this, then subscribe someplace. But I was homeless for a couple of months this year. I lived at some absolute hellhole apartment building that I call Stoner Pine, that was run by some a-hole. And I only looked at it for a second. I was kind of desperate. I moved in. It lasted 13 days. I went to urgent care. It was a whole thing. because of all the drug activity. But I found out that the guy who lived directly below me was a registered sex offender. He liked people about 45 years younger than me. So I feel like I'm probably safe. But you can go onto those, not crime maps, but like Megan's Law or the sex registration, and find out who's registered in your area, and look the places that you go, like by your workplace and by your home, because one, there's a lot more than you think there are, but it's also good to just sort of go, okay, now I know if I ever see that guy. I tell my trusted neighbors when I won't be home. That way they keep an eye out for suspicious activity. Sure, if you have a trusting relationship with them, sure, and have them get your mail and have them pick up your newspaper if you get one and your Amazon packages and all that good stuff. Don't leave that stuff out. Also, one thing that I saw in Los Angeles, and maybe it hasn't made it this way, and I hate to use any of these crime tips to teach a-holes how to be better at their game, but I'm going to tell you so that maybe you can prevent it and help your neighbors too. One thing, like I lived in a big apartment building, and somehow they would get in because you just buzz and everybody just like, oh, whatever, and just buzzes you in. Do not do that. But they would leave business cards in everybody's door for some bullshit company, window washing, car detailing, whatever the business card is. It wasn't about the business card. They would put all those in. They would come back in a couple hours and see which ones had the business card removed, because then they know somebody's home there. And the ones that had stayed for a day or two, nobody's home. The place is vacant. They don't use that door. So make sure you're always pulling those flyers out. And if you see them at other people's houses or apartments in your building, take them out. No good. You can throw it right on their doorstep. If they want window washing, they can get the business card from the doormat. And if you're a legitimate business, don't put shit in people's doors. It's rude. So Gladys Kravitz for the win. Yes. So I would always take those out. It's a barometer of whether or not people are home. And so I think they're nefarious and I don't like them. Okay, so then also, Becky Lou, cool that you tell about your vacation, but limit who you tell that you're going on vacation. It's totally okay to lie to people in some scenarios. So if you have creepy people at work, like, oh yeah, I am going on vacation, but thank God my cousin is coming to stay because I just got this stupid goldfish. It's probably not going to live anyway, but my cousin's going to stay there. And then also, like, remember back in the day when you used to call the bank and go, I'm going to Toronto for the weekend, so could you not lock all my cards the moment I leave town? They don't really need you to do that anymore. So the less people that know where you are, the better. And social media, do not be posting your every, like, look at me at the Grand Canyon. Like, oh, really? When are you going to be back? I used to look at my suspects' social media all the time to gather intel on my various gangs that I was assigned. And it might not even be the gangsters who usually have anonymous profiles that are pretty much like locked down or private, but they're like baby's mama and their moms and their all that. Like they always have open profiles. So if I can see where your girlfriend is right now and that you're with her at the Grand Canyon, it's like, okay. So I'll tell you a story. Yes, post it after you get back. Thank you, Rose Sisler. Totally fine. Post it after you get back. So I was working West Los Angeles burglary and I was given a case. This is like the first time I've said, I actually tried to give this to Candace Owens so that she could do a little something with it, but she never replied back to me. And I thought we were friends. The way she feels about the First Lady, I feel about Candace Owens. Like we're best friends. She just doesn't know it yet. But anyway, so I wrote her and told her the story. So I was working as a burglary detective and I got a call. I'll just say one of the Kardashians had her home broken into. It happened to coincide with the same night that she was a victim of a hotel room invasion in Petty. But But yeah, so her home was burglarized. I talked to the security guy, and got a list of the stuff that was stolen. And he's like, I'll get you the video. And then and then nobody would get back to me, and they weren't complying at all. And they didn't want anything further with this investigation. So I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm just trying to help you and get your shit back and maybe arrest a guy who's breaking into other homes too. Like, it's not just about you. Great, you have insurance, but I don't. So like, I want to catch these people. So come to find through the crimes and just how detectives network constantly is that another Kardashian's house was broken into the same night in a different area, and their publicist's house was broken into the same night in a different area of Los Angeles. So it's a very interesting coordinated hit. But if you guys know the Dodgers, it's baseball. I don't know anything about sports, but I hear he gets a lot of baskets, whatever it is. That the Dodgers schedule for their games and their away games when they leave Los Angeles is posted. So Yasiel Puig was his name, and he just kept getting broken into like every time he would leave for these away games. But it's just part of his job that people know when he's not home. So the poor guy kept getting broken into over and over again. And the Kardashians, like, is there anybody that's more like on the internet than the Kardashians? So of course there was probably 1.5 billion like posts of like, we're going to this event in Paris, and like, oh, they're not going to be home. Okay, you get this house, I'll get this house. Was that connected to Paris? I don't know. That's why I was waiting for Candace Owens to do a deep dive. I only have like local access to local things. And yeah, so I don't know what I was talking about there, but yes, limit who you tell and don't tell the internet. If you do have a safe, we had this case. It was a celebrity. I will spare her idiocy by not telling you her name. She had a lot of people. The safe was in not a private area of her house, but a less public area of her house. But she had a lot of stylists, hair, makeup that went into specific areas of the house that like Joe Q citizen wouldn't be able to go in. And there was a safe there. And yeah, they took everything out of it. Okay, well, how did they get into it? Oh, well, I had the code on a piece of paper on top of the safe. What? Don't do that. Don't put the code to your safe, near the safe. Just don't. One thing I just thought about, email is really great. One, it's a contemporaneous record that you said this on this date and time. Especially like today after I posted that I was doing this interview with this guy, and then he fucking took shit. So then I like had to change the thumbnail and then change the name of the show tonight with 4 seconds notice, which is why maybe it looks a little suspicious, but not up to my usual quality standards for Photoshop. But at any rate, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, emailing yourself stuff. So you can email yourself serial numbers for your laptop and your guns and all of this stuff. And that way, if it gets stolen, you can, even if your phone is stolen, even if the laptop is stolen, like you could theoretically at the police station go, hey, let me log into my mail and look up that keyword and print it out. Here you go. Here's the serial numbers for all my stuff. And bicycles they actually have serial numbers. So that's a good one to write down, because most people don't know their bicycle serial number. And that's why you see these thieves, especially in Los Angeles, that have like 700 bikes, because you're like, well, mine was a Cannondale and I think it had a chip on the back fender. Like, well, there's nothing I can do about it unless you like have a picture of that chip that forensically matches. Like, can't get that bike back for you. So write down your serial numbers and email them to yourself, because that's a great way, even if your house like caught on fire, which hopefully it doesn't, that you have access to that information remotely anywhere you go. So that's a good one. And who has your key? Listen, I have changed my locks after every boyfriend I've ever had. That's just who I am as a person. But just because you give somebody your key, it gets really tricky. And again, that's what we're talking about with like prosecution. So I had this one burglary case. 2 best friends live in the same building. And I gave my key to my best friend, and she can come and like, feed my gorilla and whatever and eat my food. And I go into her apartment. But what was happening was she was having a lot of jewelry going missing. And so she ended up like going like, it can't be my best friend. My best friend's been my best, like I trust her so much. So she put up some interior hidden cameras. And lo and behold, the best friend's boyfriend was going into her apartment, stealing her TV dinners. And like, you can see the body language on this. This man had theft in mind, coming in with that like suspicious body language and going right over to where she was like hiding her grandma's jewelry and opening it and then like putting it in the pocket and like looking around and stuff. Like he knew she wasn't home. And so this girl took the best friend to the movies, and lo and behold, her little thing goes off and she says to her girlfriend, "What is your boyfriend doing in my apartment?" "What? Let me call him." "Sweetie?" And you see him pull the phone out of his sweatpants. "Hello?" And you see this conversation happen, even though there wasn't any audio on the video that I got. But you see the body language totally change, and he opens the freezer again and he puts the TV dinner back. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm just hanging out at home." And like, he's in her apartment while he's on the phone. And so she's like, "What's going on?" And this girl didn't believe that her boyfriend was doing the shit. Anyway, I found some of the jewelry at local pawn shops. But here's the problem. The prosecutor said, because I gave my key to the best friend and the best friend lives with the boyfriend, it is reasonable, there's that word again, that if she can feed my gorilla, so can the boyfriend. This girl did not give any permission for that guy to ever enter. They did not file charges. I got pissed. I called the guy in for an interrogation. I end up getting a full confession because that's who I am as a person. And they still didn't file charges. And that was her grandma's heirloom jewelry that will never be replaced. And a lot of it, he had been doing it systematically. So we only caught the last theft that was still at the pawn shop and not this systematic theft of all of this stuff. And I don't know if that best friendship was ruined forever, but it would have been for me. So even if you give it to somebody trustworthy, make sure that you have an understanding that they're not also sharing it with people who potentially aren't trustworthy. And let's talk about peepholes. Peepholes are great, especially if you're in like an apartment building, because like when my apartment was broken into, we didn't have peepholes at the time. And so not only did they have to make sure that I wasn't home, but they had to make sure the girl across the hallway wasn't home too, as they're working on my door. So I bought us all peepholes, the whole building. And I was like, "You want a peephole?" And so they're really easy to drill in. And so it's easy. Look it up. You can do it. You need a specific drill bit for a specific size, and it just screws right in and it's good. But what I will say is, as a police officer, I carried a reverse peephole, which is like a tiny little like telescope looking thing that I kept in my pocket, and I could go up to the door and it reversed the convex nature of that peephole to flatten it. And now I can look into your peephole and be able to see what's going on. Those things, you don't have to have a license to buy them or anything. So criminals could have them too. So if you have a peephole, I wouldn't suggest one of the ones with the loud thing that closes. I don't know if you like live in an old building, but sometimes there's like a loud little door that closes on it. A soft, squishy earplug fits right into that nice and perfectly, and you can take it out and take a peek at what's going on there without alerting anybody that there's somebody on the other side of the door. So that's my a 45 caliber round usually fits too, but that can clink when it comes out. So earplug. And know your self-defense laws, but also liability laws. Like, I think there was like, I don't know if it was California, but you remember there was this burglar that like fell through the skylight and he sued. He was trying to break into the house and he fell through the skylight and he broke his leg and he was able to sue the homeowners for his broken leg while he was trying to. Anyway, if you live in a state like that, get out. I'm a refugee from the state of California. You can get out too. Come stay at my house. I've got a guest room. And also I put booby traps, but that can get very tricky when it comes to liability. So my brother's friend in high school used to this is when you still had pull-out stereos, and he had some razor blades in some places. You're going to have a hard time explaining why your stereo was worth somebody's fingers, but I don't know. It seemed like a good idea when he did it, I guess. And also, okay, I do have guns again, child and mentally ill in the house. Like make sure that your stuff is really secure, but also make sure that you train with it. This doesn't help anyone. Stop or I'll shoot. Like, you want to be very proficient with that tool and know that if you're not going to use it, that you don't get it. And if you are going to use it, then get it and know how to use it. And then the last note I have is report everything. Unfortunately, police are reactionary. And if nobody on your block has made a report of the guy that's taking a shit on all of your porches late at night, then they're not going to notice an extra patrol to come and like look at who's on that block. And okay, well, they broke my lock, but it looks like they didn't get in, so I won't report it. Report it. Report everything. It doesn't affect your insurance, credit rating, whatever, all this stuff. It doesn't make your house value go down. You want to be able to catch these guys. I want to be able to catch these guys. Well, I'm a firefighter now, so I'm not catching anybody, but they don't know that crime has happened unless it's reported. So just report it. And if you see something suspicious, call 911 and tell them why you think it's suspicious. Let the officer go and make a stop and figure out, because you never know. It's like that guy that's sitting in the blue van, like, oh, here comes, Officer Molly with her thing. Like, oh, dude, we just heard about the blue van and roll call 3 days ago. Okay, this is, blah, blah, blah. So report everything. And they never learned the golden rule, apparently. Yeah, prosecutors would never want to be treated that way. It's so true. But unfortunately, there are so many crimes that they really pick and choose what they prosecute, and that's terrible. It's a terrible place to be as a detective, knowing that your victim is being victimized all over again. It's awful. And knowing that they're not going to truly get restitution. That criminal, okay, Jimmy, you've got to go break into 17 more cars to pay Molly back. That doesn't happen. So the best bet is to just follow these tips so that you can prevent being a victim of crime. And I think we talked about vehicle break-ins and stuff on another show. But if anybody has any questions, they can throw it in the chat. I can't believe I was able to pull this straight out of my ass. It's very exciting. Oh, did you guys see my They Live shirt? Do you have any idea? This is one of my favorite movies of all time. You guys have been great. I love that you guys are in there chatting. I love the boobs. Thank you, Rose Cicelart. That was a good one. Booby traps. Yes, those are a lot of booby traps. There's a lot of bouncing boobs going on in the chat. So if this is your first time seeing me, or you've dabbled in the arena, if you guys would follow me, it'd be really awesome. I have a lot of followers on YouTube for whatever reason, but I get no views on YouTube. And then I get more views on Rumble, but I only have 240 followers right now. So maybe those are rookie numbers. We can bump up those numbers. The Colon Show. Speaking of pulling out of my ass, what's the best way to smuggle drugs in your anal cavity? Just don't. You never know when that could break open. That's a pretty bad way to go. I love They Live. Yes, Becky Lou. It's like, it's such a sign of the times too. I really feel that way. Okay, well, I guess I'm done. So next week, so I got this really exciting text. I've been getting all kinds of weird texts lately from people from like way back in the day. If you know me, I still have the same phone number from way back then. And I got a They Live patch for my hat. Yes, there's so many. That's such a visual movie. And this one says, "They live." It says, "They live, we sleep, no thought." I thought it was pretty good. And I already have so many black shirts that this one was just like, hell yes. So I got, this guy that reached out to me from high school, and he's like, "I just wanted to say, like, you were always really nice to me." I'm like, well, I didn't have any friends in high school either, so that's probably why. And then, so we talked and we caught up, and it's really exciting because we're like old now. And then an officer reached out to me a couple of days ago, and we have a good story. And so he's going to come on next week, Joey Roberts, and he has moved on to such big things. But I was there at the very beginning of his career when it could have been his very last day at LAPD. And it involves somebody projectile shitting all over the place. So I feel like you're going to want to stick around for it. He's a real good kid, and he got sacked with a really terrible officer. So we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of it. And he was like, he just texted me out of the blue. He's like, "I just wanted to say, like, thanks for sticking up for me." And I was like, really? You remember me? Like, I mean, I remember that. I remember that whole thing because my car got keyed. It was a whole thing. And we're going to talk about it next week. So hopefully he doesn't flake like today. So come back tomorrow or next week, Friday at 8 p.m., where we will be talking more cop stuff. And if you have cop questions or you want to hear like specific cop stories, like jump into the comments. Like, I have no shortage of cop stories. And even though I have moved on from LAPD, sadly, I love talking about it. It was the best job in my life. I really believe in the inherent good of mankind, but I also believe in protecting one another and being fair and having integrity. And all of the core values from LAPD believe to this day. And not every law enforcement agency and not every officer believes that. And we talked a little bit about that in my Protect and Swerve 3, I think, with Randy. But if there's things, did you ever help a birth into the world? Hell no. There's no way. That's not going to happen. Like, my toes are like in a knot underneath this desk right now. I don't want to see it. I can't. No. Mm-mm. Like, if you told me you were a month pregnant, that might be like too close to me. You can't come over. Sorry. Who flaked? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. But I had somebody. It wasn't Randy. It wasn't. But we had a whole show planned, and I advertised it everywhere. And then I got flaked on and was like, now what do I do? I'll just talk about crime because I love crime. All right, guys. I love you guys. And thanks for being in the chat. And have a great night. And I will see you next Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time. It wasn't Randy. Do not throw my best friend under the bus. I'll get you. All right. So, we got to turn off YouTube because they don't like music. Oh, did you guys like that beginning song? That's an old punk rock favorite of mine. Ignition, Lucky 13. It's a good one. All right. Let me turn off YouTube.